when an author is choosing a setting, they're not just choosing streets to put their characters on. It feeds into much, much more. Mary Lee, you want to start us?
The Pampered Pet Mysteries are set in Laguna Beach, and the newer series, the Sugar and Spice Mysteries, are set in small town Iowa. So you would think not very alike as far as setting. We don't have the nice beach in Iowa, but I think the thing that drew me to writing a different setting was that it's really all about the people. And so whether it's a big city, whether it's a corporate environment, whether it's a small town, or whether it's a beach community, you're really looking at setting as a part of the people and what brought them there or kept them there. So to me, setting is really sort of that piece that ties everything together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to add anything about setting, what it brings to your books?
My first mystery novel I set in Kansas. It was a gluten-free series, so the title is Gluten for Punishment. And I set it in Kansas because Kansas is the wheat state of America, so I thought
gluten
really great to kind of put
the
those
tough streets.
Exactly. A lot of times that's what I think about when I think about setting, is what can add to the story or what can add conflict to the story. My Candy Coated Mystery series is set on Mackinac Island, Michigan. And that's a very interesting setting because there are no cars allowed, and it's the fudge capital of the world. And there are a lot of tourists who come and go. So even though it's small, there are a lot of people who can come in and be bumped off.
I call them fresh meat in my books.
Exactly.
Nancy, do you fictionalize your settings, your multiple settings?
Mackinac Island is sort of like fictionalized over the top of what's actually there. I definitely fictionalized my Oregon Coast series. I cobbled together a couple of different places and created a new environment. So I think it just depends on the story in the book. If I know the place very, very well, then I'm very comfortable writing it exactly as it is, which my gluten-free series set in small town Kansas is actually set on the small town where I went to high school in the middle of southern Kansas. So that was very easy to layer that in.
Yeah. Mary Lee, is St. Ignatius a real place?
So it is not.
Okay.
Laguna Beach, one of the fun things with it was, of course, researching, because it was a place that I was not familiar with, so that required a couple of California trips. But St. Ignatius is really, I grew up in Madison County, where the covered bridges are, small town, 150 people. So St. Ignatius is a combination of different towns that exist in Iowa, but fictionalized, and I've had fun with that. With Laguna Beach, I was, as you said, very, very conscious that I needed to get things right and put things where they actually were. So some fictionalized shops, but mostly everything is as is. And in the Sugar and Spice series, had fun with really sort of putting towns together with different pieces that I loved. The culture part of it too, there's the setting itself, but really to be true to how people interact in a place, how they feel about the place. In St. Ignatius, somebody knew if a generation ago their family is not from there, and that's often true. And as writers, we are eavesdroppers and stalkers. And so a lot of what I pick up in an area that I'm looking at using is watching and listening, and then maybe striking up a conversation.
Bartenders are a fabulous wellspring of that kind of information.
If I have a very young character, then I'll look up the most popular baby names by that year.
By that year. That's
If
a
I
great
have
idea.
an older character, I can look up the most popular baby names by that year. For instance, you don't hear a lot of Nancys now as young girls, but when I was in school, there was always 4 or 5 of us. And my daughter, whose name happens to be Ashley, has that same kind of problem. So I think by looking up these popular names, you immediately put people in a mindset of how old people are and where they are in that setting.
It's a great idea.